There are a lot of people. I would, you know what? I'm going to go out on a limb and I'm going to say most of the people who work at the CIA, just like the ones that work at the FBI or NSA or DOD or Secret Service or whomever, are there for altruistic reasons. They want nothing more than to serve the American people. Certainly that's why I was there. And I met very, very few people in my time at the agency who were there for any other reasons, to enrich themselves or access to power. I mean, there are a couple of sociopaths who are going to rise to the top. And
I've heard you talk about how they select for sociopathic tendencies.
Oh, yeah.
That's why I could never work there, is because I have none. Special operations might be.
Well, that house that I needed to break into and plant a bug.
Yeah.
Secretly, I was like, woohoo.
Yep. Like, now is my time.
I'll tell you a funny story about that. We get to the house and there's like a $20,000 German security door on it. And the locks and picks guy says, it's going to take me 2 weeks to break into this. He goes, we can't break into this. I was like, I flew all the way out here for nothing. And they're looking at the doors like, yeah, this is an AL 512. This is like state of the art. So while they're talking about how this is a state of the art security door, I walk around to the back of the house and there's a $5 Yale lock on the back door.
That's what I'm talking about.
And I was like, guys, we're going in the back.
It's like being I was a breacher for a little bit, and guys would call for the breacher. And one of my favorite things to do would be to come to a door just to check to see if it was locked.
Oh God, yeah.
Oftentimes
filing cabinets are the same way.
Oftentimes it wasn't. And you just take your hand and these are on US doors where we were training, but even in training runs, you could tell that it would move and you're just like, hey, just make nice eye contact with him, turn the lock, open the door and be like, there you go, buddy. Just to twist the knife a little bit.
In training.
You got to look around. Yeah.
We did extensive training in crashing through roadblocks and getting away from shooters on the side of the road and stuff like that. And what they started with was, you're in the car, a quarter of a mile up is the roadblock. The instructor's in the passenger seat with you. And he's like, okay, you ready to go? You ready to go? We're going to do this, right? Yeah, we're going to do this. We're going to do this. And then very quietly, there's a shooter right there outside your door. You're so laser focused on what's ahead. And he opens the door because you forgot to lock it and then shoots you with a paintball. And he's like, well, you flunk. We're going to try it again tomorrow.
Yeah. You have to have those experiences though.
You have to.
It reorients your optic on the reality.
Oh my God, does it?
Yeah.
We did this one exercise one time. Oh, I'll never forget it. It was at a training facility here in the United States. And so you have to go into this house. No, it wasn't a house. It was supposed to be a hotel, a cheap flea bag hotel in Central America. Okay. And you're sitting at a table with a chair and you've got your gun. And then they say, okay, let's begin. So there's a knock on the door. I volunteered to go first just because I wanted to get it over with, right? So everybody else, there are like 8 of us all together. The other 7 are in the van waiting outside with music blasting so they can't hear like gunshots and stuff. So I'm sitting at the table. My gun is on the table. There's a knock on the door. And I said, who is it? I didn't say come in. I said, who is it? And the door opens and it's these 2 guys dressed as maintenance. And one of them's holding a vacuum cleaner and they're speaking really quickly in Spanish. I don't speak Spanish. And so I was like, wait a minute. I'm such an idiot. So I was like, I didn't ask for maintenance. And so I go to stand up and one of them drops the vacuum cleaner and he's got a gun and he's like, bang, bang, bang. And I go, paint. I'm like, fuck. And he goes, you flunk. Next, and don't tell anybody in the van what happened. So I go to the van and they look at me and they were like, what happened in there? What are they doing? What's the exercise? And I go like this. And every single person came back with 3 paintball hits. Every single one of us. But I'll tell you what, I learned a very valuable lesson that night, that if you're in some shithole and you think that maybe, possibly, there could maybe be a threat to your security, you go guns blazing and work out the paperwork later.
That is an important mindset to have. But I think that mindset also is what led the agency to torture people.
I think you're exactly right.
There's a parallel there.
Mm-hmm.
When did the agency shift in your mind from not, or maybe they were always willing to do that? And for clarity, there's the agency being directly involved in torture. And then there's our rendition program that will just take you to, I don't know, Jordan as a random allegedly place on the map where they might hook your testicles up to a car battery or strip a mattress of everything except for the springs and put the car battery on that. That's allegedly.
Right. That's right.
When has that always been there in the agency? Or is it that? And here's the thing, you can't, for what you did, you can't have somebody that doesn't have that mentality.
Correct.
But if you do, that can be the natural byproduct, because shooting yourself out of that situation, the knock on the door, an argument can be made like, well, you know what? I'm actually going to go hot before they open the door. Mm-hmm. Well, it might be the maid, right?
Exactly.
That's where, you have to develop some tactical competence. You can set yourself up a little bit, but you have to let it play out just a little bit. But that mentality of, we are going to fight our way through this and we'll handle the paperwork later, is, I know, because I've seen this firsthand, the justification for, we need an answer from this person right now. Mm-hmm. Go get it.
I have to tell you, I taught this class at Liberty University, which is the largest evangelical Christian university in the world. And I taught there from 2008 to 2012. When they first called me, I said, "Are you sure you're looking for me?"
What course do you want me to teach?
Right. And I said to them, we probably disagree on 99% of the issues. Why do you want me? And the dean of the Jesse Helms School of Government says, torture is not Christian. And I said, oh, okay. You know what? I said, I'll take it. And I enjoyed every minute that I was working with these guys. Anyway, the reason I'm bringing this up is there was one professor in particular that I became very close to. He spent a very brief period of time from like 1958 to 1960 at the agency, and then went into academia. And he's very old now. He's in his 90s. But he sent me his final exam one semester. He said, "What do you think of this final? I'm going to give my students this final. And here I've got this final. It's going to take them hours, and they're going to fill 3 blue books, and it's all these essay questions." His was 4 questions, and it was live. So he had the first question on the board, and the other 3 questions were covered. And the first question is, you are a CIA case officer. You have just captured a major Al-Qaeda leader. You know that there is a bomb somewhere in the United States set to go off. You know that he knows the location of the bomb. Do you torture him to get the information? Yes, no, and explain your reasoning. Okay?
Basically, this is the plot of the TV show 24, by the
That's
way.
exactly what it is. It's the ticking time bomb scenario.
Yeah.
So the second question was, he didn't say a word, but you have his wife in custody. Do you torture his wife to force him to give you the information? Remember, he says, remember, American lives are on the line. Yes, no, explain your decision. And then the third question was, the wife is a true believer. She didn't give you anything, but you have their kids in custody. Do you beat the kids? Do you torture the kids in front of them? Yes, no, explain your reasoning. And the fourth question you could only ask at Liberty University. You've died and you're standing before the judgment seat of Christ. And he says, explain your actions. What do you tell him?
What you've just laid out is a very difficult test.
And everybody would have failed it.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is tough.
I understand the underlying motivation. The first 3 questions, I'm not a religious person. It's never just really landed with me. Mm-hmm. Fully supportive of people being religious. So I don't know what the hell happens at the end of this track, but the lap around the track. So focusing on,
I'm hoping for the best.
Same. Focusing on the other 3.
Yeah.
I I understand both answers.
Mm-hmm.
And arguments can be made for both answers.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's why this is such a difficult proposition.
But who do we want to be?
That's the question. That's where I took the most shit back in 2007. We're supposed to be better than that. You know, I remember being in fundamental disagreement with something that Dick Cheney said at the time. He said he would rather imprison 100 innocent men than to let one guilty man go free. And I was exactly the opposite.
That's not what freedom is.
That's not what freedom is.
Freedom isn't about perfection. It's about possibilities.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not, I used to have, as dumb as this sounds, but when I was in the military, maybe it doesn't sound dumb. I still feel this way. Over my door, I had a sticker that said, "Freedom isn't free."
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
that cost is borne by very few people.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a heavy burden to carry at times, and it can change who you are and how you view the world, but it's not perfect. And the academic questions, they capture a lot of the weight of those questions. But I tell you what, we had the special operations community had a battlefield interrogation program called BIT.
That had to be brutal.
Sometimes, but if you wanted to see a real world case study that if you apply pain to people, they will talk. But what they say,
that's the issue,
will have almost nothing to do with reality, or they will tell you what they think you want them to say to make whatever it is happening to them stop. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying I witnessed torture, because I didn't. I witnessed what I would call very, very aggressive interrogations. And honestly, I'm not a legal expert on where that falls. I was never involved in the program as a part of a program. This was all after, target secure. Mm-hmm. And then we're going through looking for sensitive information that we can turn upstream to intelligence organizations. But, follow-on targets are a real thing as well, too. And a lot of the times we were driving that through electronic means. But every once in a while, somebody would be there. And I've seen it in real life. It doesn't work the way people think.
It just doesn't.
It doesn't. Yeah.
I say all the time that when I was working for Kerry, his office was in the Russell Building right near John McCain. So whenever Kerry and I would be walking out of the office, like for a vote or something, McCain would be coming out of his office to go to the same vote. And McCain would always go out of his way to shake my hand and say hello. "Hey, John. Hey, Senator. Good to see you again." Finally, Kerry said to me one day, "Why don't you and McCain get a room or something?" And I said, no, this is heartfelt. This is the kind of person he is. It's about torture, I said. Mm-hmm. It's all about torture. And then when I got out of prison, I was home, I don't know, maybe 4 days or so. And I got a call from his office. And the guy says, "Senator McCain says, welcome home. And he wants to know how he can be helpful." And I said, "He can help me get my pension back." I said, "These Obama people took my pension, and unless I get a pardon, I just can't get the pension back." So this friend of mine who had been the Deputy Attorney General and I went up to McCain's office to meet with his legislative people. And what we decided to do, it was brilliant. My attorney wrote a 1-sentence amendment. It was, "Every American convicted of violating the Intelligence Identities Protection Act between October 1st and October 31st, 2012, shall hereby have his pension reinstated." So I was the only person in the world.
Oh, I was going to say, yeah. This is like writing a sole source contract for like the one contractor you need.
It's called a specific purpose bill. Yeah. So McCain said, "I'll just stick it into the National Defense Authorization Act." He says, "Those things are like 3,000 pages long. Nobody reads them." He said, "I'll stick it in." I said, "Yeah, but then in conference committee, somebody's going to take it out, somebody on the House side." And he said, "I'll get myself named to the conference committee and I'll make sure it stays in." I'm like, "God bless you, Senator McCain." And then he got sick.
Yeah.
And then he died. And so it never happened.
Do you think the agency has actually stopped?
Wow. People ask me that. And
again, there's the agency directly, or I found out about the Rendition program. I got into aviation when I was exiting the military, and I got type rated to fly a Gulfstream G4.
No way.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to say a Cessna 172.
That's what I started in. We all do.
We all did.
Well,
but you went jet?
Yeah.
That's incredible. Congratulations.
It was fun. But
I see where you're going too.
I started researching Gulf Streams.
I see exactly where this is going.
A Gulf Stream came up for sale.
Oh my God.
And one of the things that blew the lid off the Rendition program is that the people looking to do the purchase of the Gulfstream dug into its flight history.
Oh God.
And they were like, what the actual fuck? Like Afghanistan to Egypt, Afghanistan, Jordan. And that was one of the things that actually brought attention. It was an agency, probably third party, but it was one of their rendition platforms. That's how I heard about it. It wasn't through the military. It wasn't through the intelligence community. It was just it was an interest in the airframe that I was flying.
We used to send a lot of people to third countries to be softened up. And I remember there was a period when I got back from Pakistan, I was named chief of counterintelligence in Alex Station, the Osama bin Laden group. So my job was to ensure that Al-Qaeda couldn't infiltrate American embassies, the embassy staffs, the third country nationals employed in embassies, and that the walk-ins that we were getting all around the world were not really dangles from Al-Qaeda. It was a challenging job.
Yeah.
So we grabbed this professor from the University of Toronto named Maher Arar. And a group of us went to the chief of operations, who we called the red-headed devil.
To his face?
Her face. No, not to her face.
That was more of a behind the back one. Okay, yeah.
She was portrayed by Jessica Chastain in Zero Dark 30.
Gotcha.
She doesn't look anything like Jessica Chastain other than the red hair. So we went to the red-headed devil and we said, this is the wrong guy. We're snatching the wrong guy. And she's like, oh no, we're not. This is the right guy. He's dangerous. I'm like, this is a fucking political science professor in Canada. He's not an Al-Qaeda mastermind. We grab him. He had gone to Tunisia to visit family one summer, the summer of 2002. And he flew back. He was flying back to Toronto, but he had to transit JFK. And so we asked the FBI, just grab him when he gets off the plane at JFK, completely off the books, turn him over to us. We flew him to Damascus. And we said, have at him. The Syrians finally came back, fast forwarding, the Syrians finally came back to us like 8 or 9 months later. And they're like, this is the wrong guy. We've done everything to this guy and he doesn't know anything. He's just the wrong guy. We denied and denied and denied to the Canadians that he was ever on that plane. What we didn't know was, you know how like an hour before you land, the flight attendants go up and down the thing saying, duty free, duty free. He bought a pair of sunglasses for his wife and he used a credit card. So a month after he goes missing, and the Canadians are telling his wife, he wasn't on the plane. We don't know what you want us to say. He wasn't on the plane. She said, yeah, then why did he use his credit card on the plane to buy a pair of sunglasses in the duty free? And the Canadians were like, oh shit, the Americans have him. And then we had to let him go. So we told the Syrians, just let him go. He flew back to Canada. He sued us in the Eastern District of Virginia. CIA went in to the courtroom and said, Your Honor, national security. And the judge is like, case dismissed with prejudice, national security, 9/11, national security. So he sued the government of Canada and he won $6 million. I spoke to him, I'm going to say it's been a while now. I spoke to him about 5 years ago. I asked him if he would come on my podcast. And he said he can't. He said, I have developed such agoraphobia. He said, I haven't left my house, the four walls of my house, he said, in 15 years. And he said, even to be on a Zoom call, I just can't do it. He said, I'll have a panic attack. I'll have to be hospitalized. I just can't do it. We ruined his life.
Can you imagine if that was a U.S. citizen and a third a near
Can you imagine?
near peer nation had done that.
We'd be bombing them right now for what they did to an American.
The problem is
There was another guy.
how many of those stories exist?
Yeah. Khalid al-Misri, I think his name was. German guy, owned a grocery store. One night, he gets in a fight with his wife. And he's like, fuck you. He's so mad. He walks out, buys a bus ticket. He's going to go visit his brother in Montenegro. The name al-Misri, it's not really a name. It just means the Egyptian. Misr is Arabic for Egypt. So his name is Khalid the Egyptian. Okay, there are only about 150,000 other guys named Khalid al-Misri.
Yeah, like Abu Muhammad.
Exactly.
The number of times I went after Abu Muhammad with a picture of basically
Muhammad's dad.
Yeah, a green silhouette.
Yeah.
I'm like,
he's got olive colored skin.
Yeah, he has no features to his face whatsoever. He looks like a flat 3D green silhouette.
So this guy is on a bus and he's in like Serbia on his way to Montenegro. And a sister agency informs us that there's this Egyptian guy named Khalid, and he's going to blow up the American embassy in Tirana, Albania. And we're like, wait a minute. There's another guy named Khalid, and he's Egyptian, and he's on a bus going in the general direction of Albania. It must be him. So we tell the Serbs, stop the bus, grab him, and turn him over to us. And that's exactly what they do. We send him to Egypt, and they torture him to within an inch of his life. And they're like, yeah, this is the wrong guy. This guy's just named Khalid. He happens to be Egyptian. When he gets out of the torture chamber in Cairo to return to Germany, he's got a beard down to his waist, and he's clutching a copy of the Quran. And a German reporter asked him, what are you going to do now? And he said, all I want to do is kill Americans.
Today's episode is brought to you by Brunt Workwear. Probably one of the coolest things about this brand, other than the quality and comfort right out of the box, is this. They actually let you wear the boots to work before deciding if you want to keep them. A real job site on real work days, not just walking around at your house. And if they're not right for you, you can send them back for a full refund. That is a 100% risk-free trial. So Brunt sent me some Omen boots, which I've talked about before. They are essentially a Chelsea boot. It's the first pair of boots I've had that didn't have laces. They were slip-on. My daughter saw me wearing them, and she is in a welding program right now. So she asked me for a set of low-top Brunt work boots, which I got her a pair. She just recently asked me for a high-top pair of the same boots. She says the same things that I do about these. Right out of the box, perfect fit, super comfortable, and my daughter is quite picky. Anybody who has a 17-year-old daughter can attest to that. The fact that she has two pairs and specifically asked, she said, this is how my daughter asked me for things. Hey, Dad, do you think you can get me this exact boot in this size, in this colorway, and in this shank? And I'm like, yes, I think I can. I can appreciate the fact that she's that specific. This is the boot she wanted, though. Again, these are no doubt the most comfortable boots I've ever worn, comfortable right out of the box, no long painful break-in period like other brands that I have experienced. I'm sure you all have too. They're built to perform, whether you need them to be waterproof, safety toe, soft toe, pull-on, or lace-up, they got you covered. And Brunt stands behind what they make. Like I said, you can wear them to work. If they're right for you, send them back. And I don't know of any other brand doing that. And that is a company that believes in their product. So right now, for a limited time, listeners are going to get $10 off Brunt when you use the code ClearedHot at checkout. Just head to bruntworkwear.com, use the code ClearedHot, and you are good to go. Brunt was tired of the workwear brands out there cutting corners. You work too hard to be stuck in uncomfortable boots that don't hold up. So they built something better. Boots that are insanely comfortable and built for any job site. For a limited time, again, listeners get $10 off Brunt when you use the code ClearedHot at checkout. Just head to bruntworkwear.com, use the code ClearedHot, and you're good to go. After your order, they're going to ask how you heard about Brunt. Do me a favor, tell them it was from the show. That's all I got. Back to the show.
Yeah. It's not a viable program.
It grates against every fiber of who I want us to be as a nation.
I agree with you. Mm-hmm.
How do you think it worked its way through the agency to a place where it was an approved program?
Don't underestimate the level of shame in the agency after 9/11.
Meaning they thought that they had missed something. It was their
Oh
fault.
yeah, this was all our fault. We were asleep at the switch. And then it was actually worse than just being asleep at the switch. It was that we knew the hijackers were in the United States. We didn't want the FBI to know.
Yeah, a lot of it was just not being able to share information appropriately, or not.
Yeah, because we wanted to recruit them.
Well, also, if it was anything like the pre 9/11 SEAL teams, we wouldn't even share information. Like I would start off on the West Coast. SEAL Team 5, 3, and 1 were a shitty 9-iron from each other, but nothing was happening. And we were all afraid if the big mish came up, it would go to somebody else. So we would in the absence of an enemy, we had to fight each other. And all we were actually fighting for was relevance. And another word for that is budget.
Yeah.
So
right.
I mean, I know the world, the pre 9/11 world where it's, the agencies got their stuff and then there's the FBI and the NSA. But it's like, we have to protect our budget. We have to protect our relevance. How if we share this information, what's going to happen? Like, I don't know. Maybe the U.S. will be a little bit safer and we can put some pieces together. But again, that's judging in hindsight. It's all to say I understand where that mentality came from.
Oh, I can't tell you how many times over the years, pre 9/11, we would either do something or prepare to do something. And at the last minute, the boss would say, don't tell the FBI. It's like, okay, I won't tell the FBI.
Do you think you guys would have been able to actually recruit or turn any of the hijackers? I don't think so either.
They were true believers.
Yeah.
True believers.
God, they were. I took flight lessons in Montgomery Field where some of them did. Afterwards, obviously, there was a little bit more scrutiny of students.
I bet.
Yeah.
And you didn't say, I don't need to learn how to land just to take off.
Too soon, John. Too soon. It was too soon. Yeah. They were going to, in the type rating course for the Gulfstream, it all occurs in a simulator because they are not going to.
I'm very impressed that you, oh my God, got jet qualified. It's incredible to me.
They're not going to throw you the keys to a jet, even though there are no keys to a jet, really, except for the door. Like you're not finding the ignition and just like, oh, you got to put the clutch in and put it in neutral. It doesn't work like that. So it's all done in these sims, and it's every phase of flight. Wow. It's a Chinese Communist Party ticker tape parade of red flags. If somebody goes in and says, can you just have me focus on the phase of flight where I'm flying? Like what? Nobody thought to run that sucker up.
Literally nobody at any level.
Yeah.
Nobody thought that was unusual enough to alert a superior.
Even in a non 9/11 world, it's like, hey, make a call. I don't know how you guys work, but maybe have an additional sim instructor sitting in there with them, just like
that's right,
putting an eyeball on these guys.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. It's
so you're like John Travolta, huh?
I don't believe in Scientology, so there's some differences. I'm not an OT7 or an OT8, whatever level.
Right. Well, you got to be careful of those thetans. No, but seriously, he even has flown 747s.
I think he owns one.
He owns a 747?
I believe so, yes.
Very impressive. But flying a Cessna 172 is one thing. Yeah. Everybody can do that. But
they all kind of fly. The theory of flight is all the same.
Is the same. And the plane is designed that it wants to stay in the air.
Yes.
Right? Unless it's breaking apart or something.
Well, then you're screwed.
Yeah, then you're screwed. Right. Unless you're in a Cirrus SR-22, which has a parachute.
Which are amazing. I flew those for about 1,500 hours.
You're kidding me.
Yeah. I got into helicopters about 2 years ago.
See, I heard those are especially difficult.
They are very different. I would describe it as this. Flying an airplane is you have a metal bowl and a BB, and you're holding it at the bottom just trying to keep it balanced.
Right.
A helicopter, you flip the bowl upside down and the BB's on top and you're trying to keep it on top.
Oh my God.
So much more handsy footy, if you will. It's fun.
I went to Arlington Cemetery the other day. I go every couple of months. And I live within walking distance of it. And it's just such a beautiful,
it's an amazing
humbling place.
Yeah.
So I went to do a video podcast on CIA officers buried at Arlington. Or two of them were pre-CIA, they were OSS. But anyway, one of the graves that we went to, and I put flags at each one of them, was Francis Gary Powers. This poor guy, besides the whole U2 thing, and we denied that he was, not only just denied that he was CIA, we denied that he was USG at all. And then finally had to trade him, in one of these Bridge of Spies situations. But this poor guy, after piloting the U2, ended up piloting a traffic helicopter in LA. And then he crashed that and was killed in the crash. A U-2 pilot lost control of a traffic helicopter. That's how hard they are to fly.
Well, there are mechanical things that can happen as well, where even if you're doing the right thing,
You're still going to crash.
yeah, like there was a recent crash at the one in New York, the passenger.
Yes.
It looks like the main rotor blades departed from the aircraft.
Yeah, they did.
There's nothing you can do.
No, you're going to die.
You're going to die in that. That was probably a total hypothesis and guess on my side, a maintenance issue that was undiagnosed. So when you fire that thing up and you get it off the ground, that day was your day. There's nothing you're going to be able to do.
I'm sorry to get off topic, but I'm so fascinated that you're jet qualified. I've got to ask you. I don't know, because when I went to get I was serving in Athens. We work a full work day, one day, and all the guys from the counterterrorism group, there was a bar it was like a shack.
Yeah.
But they served beer in the parking lot of the embassy. So we would go there and drink beers, which, believe me, at the time was better than going home. So one of them said something about flying the Cessna 172. And I said, "Oh, I didn't know you were a pilot." And he said, "Oh yeah, I've been a pilot for years." And then the second guy said, "I loved my Cessna 172 so much, I bought one." And I go, "You're a pilot too?" And then the third one said, "I started on the 172 and then I went to the 182, the twin engine." And I said, "Come on, you guys. Come on. You're putting me on, right?" And then the fourth one says, "I'm older than you guys. I learned on a Piper Cub and they don't do that anymore." And I said, "Are you telling me that all four of you guys are pilots?"
Yeah, you missed the memo somewhere.
Seriously. And then one of them, the one I was closest to, he goes, "What's the matter, baby? You afraid to get a pilot's license?" I said, "If you morons can get pilot's licenses, I certainly can."
That's also accurate with me as well, too. So don't be too impressed.
Well, I went home on R&R a couple of months later, and I was driving my dad to Walmart in Newcastle, Pennsylvania. And there's kind of a back road, like a cut through. And you go past Newcastle Municipal Airport, which is just a strip. And they have a banner outside and it says, "Learn to fly here." So I said, "Dad, give me 5 minutes. I just want to run in here real quick." So I pull in, I go up to the guy. I said, "How much is it and how long does it take?" He said, "If you're serious about it, you can do it in 6 weeks." And mind you, this is 26 years ago. It's a flat $5,000. So I pulled out my credit card. I said, "Sign me up." And 6 weeks later, I soloed. But then 9/11 came.
Yeah.
And then I just, there's no time to do anything.
No.
Let alone, try to get flight hours in.
Now you got time, though.
Now, and in the next couple of months, I'll be able to afford it.
That would be amazing.
I actually called the airport the other day at College Park, Maryland. And they said, "Oh yeah, sure." I said, "Listen, I want a Cirrus SR-22. And the guy said, "We've got 3 of them."
Yep.
I said, "Oh my God. Okay. I'm going to do it."
Yep. I have, I got my instrument rating in a Cirrus. I have a substantial amount of time in a Cirrus. They're a great platform.
Have you ever flown the Diamond DA-40?
No, but I know what you're talking about. The school that I was going through my ratings at just didn't have any. Otherwise, from an economic perspective, I probably would have gone that route.
I heard that they're light as a feather and really easy to fly. They're made in Austria.
Yeah, and economically, they're very efficient, so it'll reduce the cost of your training as well, too.
And my original question to you was going to be, I love going to little airports because they always have coffee shops.
Yep.
And you can just sit there and have breakfast. I used to take my kids when they were little, and we would go watch the planes take off and land and have pancakes and, whatever, call it a morning. But I would always pick up the used planes for sale magazines that are there. And invariably in the back, they always have like MiGs from the Czech Air Force. And it was mostly MiGs.
Yeah.
Have you ever flown something like that? Like,
I got a backseat ride in a MiG-29 last year.
Really?
In Bozeman, Montana.
What was that like?
It was like being strapped to 2 rockets.
That's what I would be afraid of.
So Jared Isaacman, the now head of NASA, was the guy flying it.
Oh my God.
He has a private jet collection because they used to be the OP4. They contracted out to be the OP4, foreign adversaries for U.S. pilot training.
That makes sense.
So he had a MiG-29 down in Bozeman, and Buddy calls me up, asked me an incredibly rhetorical question of, do I want to go on a backseat ride in a MiG-29? Like, Do you not know who I am? Of course I want to do that. I tell you what, I can tie this into you with something that I think is one of the largest threats to national security. Small private airports.
Yeah, totally.
The next 9/11 is not going to come from a commercial airport.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Completely unregulated open nature of almost all small municipal city airports would knock people on their ass if they understood how easy it is to just get in and out of and manipulate those systems. I've been like screaming, like we're up near the northern border. I don't know if you know this, but we haven't had an illegal crossing in 9 months. Somebody said that. And I was like, okay.
On the Canadian side.
Oh, no. Trump put out that we haven't had a single illegal crossing in 9 months.
Come on.
Swear to God. Michael, pull that shit up. So I saw that on Twitter as like, so you've never been to Montana? Yeah, I'm like, come on. Like, why would you speak in absolutes when that's so demonstrably false? The southern border, I get. What I can't get people to pay attention to is, say that his administration achieved 9 consecutive months with zero. Mind you, what? Zero.
Has he never been to Texas?
I don't understand how any of this stuff makes it out into the world of fact checking, but the velocity seems to be increasing. But I have done so many conversations now on change agents about the northern influence and, precursor chemicals going to the port of Vancouver as opposed to places in Mexico and how porous the border is. I was with my buddy John Norris, who was a game warden in California and started an anti-marijuana task force there, who now lives 60 miles to the east. And we got in the helicopter and we flew up to the northern border just to get it on video and show. It's just mowed grass. And nobody is, if I was any level of sophisticated individual, first off, the ability to get into Canada on passports is way easier than it is in the US. I would 100% go that route. Get rid of that stuff, walk across that's what concerns me more. And nobody's paying attention to it, that I can tell, at least. It's a huge, huge liability for this country. So
I think you're 100% right.
I'm hoping the agency has a northern border task force. I don't think so.
Not that I've ever heard of.
Yeah.
It's funny too.
Are they even allowed to? Aren't you guys not supposed to be working in the U.S.?
Forbidden.
Okay. I understand it says that on paper. Have they ever not worked in the U.S.?
Well, there's a U.S. division called the National Resources Division, but the job of an NR case officer is very simply to call up American CEOs, CFOs, COOs and say, hey, I heard you just went to China. Can I come to the office and ask you some questions?
Yeah.
That's it. That's all they do.
I feel like the agency is doing more than that in the U.S.
Well, I suspect strongly that they are, and they're not supposed to.
How do we get that under check, John?
It probably started with these JTTFs, right?
The Joint Terrorism Task Force?
Joint Terrorism Task Forces.
Is that because of the authorities that came with that? Yeah.
They can do anything that they want. And technically you're on assignment, on rotation to a JTTF. So it's a CIA guy, an FBI guy, a State Department guy, some DHS people. It's all about keeping America safe. The next thing you know, you have CIA people operating domestically.
And how do you unwind that once that starts?
Only through robust congressional oversight, which is not happening.
I feel like the agency itself would rebel against that or do everything they could, especially if you have the ability to say national security.
Agreed.
Done. So then do we build CIA 2.0? What do we do?
Oh my God. The first time I ever worked with MI5, I'm gonna answer your question with an anecdote. First time I ever worked with MI5, I was serving in Athens. I was working against a guy that, when I teach these classes, nobody's ever heard of. And then when I say he was the Osama bin Laden of the 70s and 80s, I said his name was Carlos the Jackal. They just look at me with these blank stares.
I've seen the movies.
Right? At least watch the movie.
Yeah.
They look at me like they've never, ever heard this name before. So what I was trying to do is figure out who the middleman was between Carlos the Jackal and the Greek terrorist group Revolutionary Organization 17 November. So I got a tip about a guy who was the middleman back in the day. And And I found him. And he's living in a housing project in London. So I reach out to my MI6 counterparts and they said, we'll find him, but this is an MI5 issue. You'll work with MI5. Just let us know what you find. And I said, fine. So I fly to London, and I did this like every few weeks over the course of 6 months. We find the guy.